I had a really good reading month. Not that in the sense that I read a lot, but that every book I did read, I really loved. And that just makes me so happy inside because I didn't read a single bad book, and that's always great. Moving on, I read 4 books and let's talk about them. The first book I read in May was Joyland by Stephen King. This book was not what I expected in a good way. I expect scary and terrifying and cringe-worthy moments from Stephen King where I stay up all night reading his books because they terrify me so much that I can't sleep, so I'm just gonna keep reading. This book was not that in the slightest. It was more of a coming of age story. Granted, it did have some like ghost elements in there and there was maybe a murderer, but it was written in a way that was very nice and very, very different from what I'm used to from Stephen King, and I really love the story. I love the characters and everything about it. If you love books about carnivals or anything of that sort, I would definitely check this book out. I gave it, I believe, either 4 out of 5 stars, I think, or 5 stars, I don't remember. I really enjoyed this book. It was very nice. It was such a good time. It was really fun. After that, I read Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. This is the second novel in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children thingy-mabob. I don't know, is this gonna be a trilogy or like more than that? I don't even know. But anyway, I finally read the second book. I read the first book years ago, and I thought of rereading the first book, but then I was like, nah, I'll just go into the second book hoping I remember what happened in the first one. And I remembered, and it was fine. There was no confusion and whatnot. And oh my gosh, this book was so much better than the first one. At least to me, I enjoyed it so much more. It had so much more growth and character development, and that was one of the main problems I had with the first book, was that the characters, I couldn't quite connect with them, and the second book really got more into depth with them, and I could really relate to them more and just, you know, feel their emotions, and it was just great. I really loved it, and I can't wait for the third book whenever that comes out. I don't know. And what else do I love about this book? The pictures in this book, that's always a plus. This book has amazing photographs I think that's really what this book series is known for, the cool pictures and everything like that, and it's just so great, and I would definitely recommend these books. You should read them. After that, I read another Stephen King novel, and that one is Dr. Sleep. I finally read this book. I'm so happy I did. It was really, really, really good. Different from what I expected in a good way. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but here's the thing. The Shining is my favorite book by Stephen King that I've read so far, and I don't think anything could ever compare to that, in my opinion. And this book was no way close to comparing to The Shining, but I did really enjoy it. It was really nice to see everything that happened to the kid from the first book, because that always, you know, was a question in my mind, like, hey, what happened to the kid from The Shining, you know, like what did his life turn out to be like? I really like the take on the antagonist of this story. They reminded me of vampires, but they weren't vampires, and it was just really cool. Yeah, it's really good, and you should definitely read The Shining, and then you should definitely read this book. Good times, good times. And the last book that I read this month was probably my favorite out of these 4, just because it was so good, and that was We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. I wasn't expecting a lot from this book, and I was so surprised. It's not that I thought it was gonna suck, but it was a debut novel from someone, I think, possibly. I could be wrong, but I didn't think it was going to be that great because the cover was so beautiful and whatnot, and the synopsis sounded so intriguing that I felt that something must go wrong with it, or like it couldn't be that great, but it was so good. And if you don't know what this book is about, it's apocalyptic. There is a meteor called Ardor or something, and its path corresponds with the Earth, so it's on a path to crash into the Earth. And so everyone is told that they have 2 months before this meteorite is going to collide with the Earth. Ergo, everyone's gonna die. It is told from the perspective of a group of teenagers, and these are stereotypical teenagers. You have like the nerd, the jock, the scene kid or emo, whatever, and you get to see their view on the situation and what they're gonna do with their last 2 months of their lives. It somewhat reminded me of The Breakfast Club in the way that these 4 kids are sort of thrown in together. They're so different from each other, but they create a bond and a friendship, and they grow together in such a short amount of time. Also, I just really loved how this story was written. It was beautifully written, and it made you think. It really made you think, like, what would you do if you had 2 months to live? Are you really living? Are you doing everything you want to do? Is there something you haven't done that you really just need to get out of the way? Like, it's so thought-provoking, and I loved it so much. So you should all read it. We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach. Go check it out, go buy it, go get it at the library, whatever. It's just so good. Definitely in my top 15 of 2015. If you've read any of these books, leave a comment below and we can talk and discuss all that good stuff. And yeah, I don't know how to end these videos. It's so awkward. Like, do I say goodbye? Like, bye, see you later, have a good night or day or something? I don't know.